go.
Okay.
Okay, Tony, can you give us a bit of a background about who you are? What do you do? And then I really want to talk about this. How big is it? You said mural?
18 stories.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't start painting 18-story murals. Where did you start?
Um, well, it's like most artists, I've been drawing my whole life, and I went to a vocational high school that taught me animation. So I was doing like 2D animation, and then like eventually 3D animation, and then I kind of realized that I love art, but I didn't like that sitting at a computer doing like digital art or like the same frame over and over like animators do. It just wasn't really my thing. I like to be like physically, I don't know, in it. Um, so I just kind of started painting, canvas on the side, and had a day job doing construction for 8 years. And then, like, it's like slowly my paintings would just, start catching up to my pay at my real job, my day job. And then the pandemic hit, which really just like took me to the next level. There was so many places that were shut down, and they were, renovating while they're closed, and everybody wanted murals. And I think it was like a community thing too, like the city was like supporting itself. And um, I just got like a great portfolio out of that year. And then since then, it's just been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then like uh, last month, that 18-story building is just like it's happened so quick, Um, but I do feel like it's like I'm doing what I was meant to do, you know.
I love that. Okay. Then so you started digitally and now you're doing murals mainly all the time, or like what other kind of art do you do?
Yeah, so murals is like
That's it?
97% of what I do.
Cool.
Yeah.
You're awesome. Okay. And then you said it, sorry, what year did you say that started?
Uh, 2020 is when it really took off for me, but I'll paint like a mural here and there, like friends or friends of a friend before that, probably a couple years before that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you're new. I say new, but I'm sure, yeah, you definitely have learned the ropes and now you're like literally on ropes on
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
painting that building. Okay. Tell me where did this 18-story commission come from?
So that was another project that it might have started around 2020, 2021. And I got it, with my business partner at the time. He was more of a designer. And so I was like painting for him. So he kind of like wrote me into the emails, and then I was in the group for a while. And then it just, as the project evolves, like the bigger projects, there's so much involved that it will evolve over years sometimes. And by the end of it, Derek was out, I was in, um, painting it, his design.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so I kind of just got lucky, and um, that just kind of goes to show how like networking is so important, because you never know who you'll meet, even if it's not even in your niche, that can get you to another level or like help you out in some way. But yeah, lucky. I feel lucky and destined.
Yeah. Okay. So you're using the thing that like the ropes go over, right? Like what is it called? It's
Uh,
not a lift. What is it called?
it's called the swing stage.
Okay.
Yeah, and so you're basically just, if you imagine, you're like hanging off of the building on a line, kind of like a climber, but you also have this platform that raises on its own that you can stand on. So in case you ever, for some reason, go over the edge, you're able to scale down on your own if
Okay.
everything's done right. Yeah, but
Okay.
I mean, it was terrifying. I'm like the first couple days I was up there, I was shaking, and you can't help but look down, and it's like very intimidating and intense. But I feel like the passion to get it done and stuff was just like completely overwhelms it. And then by the end of it, it was probably about a 3-week install. By the end of it, I was so comfortable, like I could have jumped over the edge and like scaled down by
Oh my
myself.
gosh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. But it was cool,
Wow.
and it's cool just to get over that fear, because I want to get bigger. I want to do taller buildings, so I got to get over this.
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah,
was just painting on a roof recently, and I was only up there for 3 days, so you're saying I probably should have been up there for 3 weeks, and I would have been, like, scaling it like Spider-Man.
yeah. Was it the pro shops?
Mhm.
Oh yeah. That was really interesting too. I was actually looking at your setup, like your harness to the roof, because I've
Yeah,
never done roofing or anything like that, but I always wondered how that would work.
yeah, me too.
Because
It
that
was
that
weird.
it looks scary. I mean,
It was. It was. Yeah. Yeah, you're just tied off. So, are you wearing, like, a full harness, and how are you, like, clipped in?
yeah. So it's a full harness, and then you have your you know safety line connected to a separate line, and then swing stage has its own lines that it's attached to. And there's like a spotter at the bottom, and there's a lot of safety things. I was lucky enough to have a separate company come in and do like the priming and the sealing and run the swing stage, most of it for me. So it was all a learning experience, and I feel very happy to have done it.
Yeah. How much does setting up a swing stage cost? Like, say somebody I
I don't know, honestly. I didn't handle that part of it, but if I was going to guess, I'd probably imagine it's about 5 grand a week.
okay.
For the stage we had set up on. I've never even seen how they set it up. I saw the setup, as it was done, but I never watched them take it apart and put it together. So I have no idea how any of that part works. Um, but maybe I'll learn one day.
Maybe, yeah. I was
Yeah,
just curious for if somebody one day, if I put it out there, "Hey, I really wanna do stuff at Tall Heights." I wonder what I would bid that at, something like that.
yeah.
Some hmm,
Honestly, that's a good question. I was meaning to like reach out and get a quote from the company I work with. Just be like, if I was hiring you independently, how much would something like this cost? I'll do something like that, and I'll get back to you. That's what I'll do.
okay, great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm curious
Okay.
too.
Okay, so you have a really unique style. I was looking it up, or I was looking at your Instagram here, and it's just it's really cool. You do a lot of nature, a lot of like where did your style come from? Are you doing what people ask, or is what kind of stuff?
It's probably a mix.
Yeah.
Um, I think most times people kind of give me like a general vibe, and or like I want to I want it to be a wolf or something like that, or I want it to be this or that, and then I kind of just try to make it in a fun way that I would enjoy painting.
Mm.
And I don't know, I just like nature. I think it's the most fun to paint, especially with cans. Um, like the features of animals, and I don't know, it's just like my favorite thing to paint. Gradients, whiskers and hair, and I don't know.
Do you use spray paints?
Mostly spray paints, but I'll do brushwork too, airbrush. Mm. Yeah, but spray paint's my favorite.
Okay. And then I noticed you have some help up there. I'm looking at a photo of you with a helper, helper painter up there. Who is that?
Oh, so that's one of the guys with the company. They're called Unforgettable Coatings. So
So,
what they do is they paint like all the skyscrapers in Vegas, just like
okay.
one color. So that team was like perfect for this, kind of just to help me through it, and then I was just doing the art.
Okay.
Yeah, which I honestly highly recommend for any other artist if you can outsource as much as you can on projects like that, because you know I'm the type of person where I feel like I want to have control over everything a little bit. I
Mhm.
might be a little controlling, especially with my art, but when you're actually in the project, it can be so overwhelming, and problems will happen on large scales, and just things you never thought of, things I never thought of. So if you can have like outsourced help, even if it takes a little bit of your profit, to me personally, I feel like it eases my mind. It just makes me feel a lot better. The project goes a little smoother. Highly recommend.
Definitely. I see you do several schools.
Yeah. So I work with a company in Vegas called Graffiti Park, and um, that's kind of like what they do is, parks, schools, community buildings. They just kind of like almost like an agency, and then they hire out artists to do whatever the project calls for. Luckily, a lot of those are animals, so they're just like, I'll have Tony go do an animal on it. So it's fun. It's cool.
Very cool. Okay, so you work with it's kind of like an agency. So how is that set up? So they have a project that they need and they just ask you, or do they ask multiple people and you all put in bids for it, or
Um, so there is like a roster that they have, and I'm not really sure how they pick. I think I'd assume it's based off style, or maybe the client decides, like off the portfolio. But they'll kind of just hit me up and be like, "Hey, here's the project. Here's the outlines. Are you free? Do you want to do it? Take it or leave it." And then I assume it goes on to the next person if I say no.
yeah.
But I don't think I've ever said no. Actually, they've all been pretty good gigs.
Very cool. How does the pay structure on that work? Do they keep like a certain percentage?
I'd assume so, but I don't know what the actual percentage is.
They don't tell you. They're just like, "Hey, can you do this for this amount?"
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
A lot of artists like we don't want to go out and go find our own stuff. So if somebody's coming to you, heck yeah, you've made that connection. How did you make that connection, by the way?
Well, I mean, I market myself like as a solo artist, and then one day one of the owners, his name's Dan, we had lunch, and he just kind of told me about like his idea for Graffiti Park, like before it started, and he's like, "If we do this, would you want to be on the roster?" And I was like, "Of course." And like a year later, it actually started happening, and they've been like growing ever since. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. Okay, so how are you getting customers nowadays? Is it
I would probably say it's like 50% word of mouth, and then maybe like 75% word of mouth. But then Google helps a lot.
okay?
Starting a Google listing, like you got to run your art like a real business. If people don't know you exist, they can't get to you. So I had a Google page, I Yelp, just putting myself on as many platforms as I can, and social media. Instagram is great. I kind of I have like all social media platforms, but I stick to Instagram. It's just the one I like the most, I guess.
Me too.
But I get great leads off there, and I'm not even like crazy big, so I'm happy where I'm at. I'm still learning, trying to get used to like making content and being in front of the camera and all that extracurricular stuff of being an artist these days.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Hmm. Um, so you get stuff from Instagram. Instagram's my favorite one, but I feel like I don't get a lot of jobs from Instagram. I feel like mine mostly come from word of mouth or like Facebook, really. Do you use
Okay.
Facebook at all?
I do, but probably not as much as I should. I do get leads off Facebook, and especially like in the groups, those like local groups, or
Yeah.
that helps a lot.
Okay.
It's Facebook's just not as fun to use. I feel. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing it
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, definitely has a different vibe than Instagram. Instagram's just kind of like, I don't know, it's more artsy. It's just like it feels more comfortable.
Yeah. Well, Facebook
Okay.
feels more like I'm, posting an ad for myself, which I am, but I don't like feeling like I'm doing that. I don't know. I got to get over it. I got to get over it. But
Yeah. Okay. So have you had any crazy stories of anything of like big lessons learned or like achievements that have happened or anything?
oh man, I don't know any big crazy stories. Like this whole Reno thing was just a big adventure. Um, we went over time, over budget. I had a bunch of problems, and it's like when a problem happens, it's at such a big scale. Um, like for example, we originally were instructed to use a certain brand of paint because it's durable outside, blah blah. So I get the colors in this paint and I'm starting to paint it. And then we're probably like 3 colors in and they realize that it's just not bright enough. And they can't make these colors in this brand bright enough. So we have to switch brands, which is like, it's so, big to me because there goes a couple days of work, from
Yeah.
down on the floor. It just looks like I'm just changing a couple colors. But, in real life, I'm up there for hours changing these colors, days. And then, the budget, paint is expensive, especially good paint. And, then I don't know. The whole like finding an Airbnb, just being in a different town for so long, like away from my friends, my family, and my daughter. Like uh, the whole thing was just a huge learning experience. But I love it. Like I love learning new things because I want all that experience. I want to have any problem that comes to me, just be like, all right, at least I kind of saw it coming, or I know what to do now, or whatever. I mean, everything's a crazy story. There's, I don't know. Being up on this building for the first time ever was crazy. Um,
Yeah.
Catching wind and rain up there for the first time is scary, and like,
Oh my
you
gosh.
know,
Yeah.
some of the most intense moments of my life. I feel like we're in this project. Both
You're
like,
like,
like what my anxiety for a project this big was like, I've never dealt with anything like this, or being up on the scaffold when it's like flipping around in the wind and rain. It's like I'm dealing with so much every day, and then there's like the pressure of the whole thing. Everyone's down there watching you doing this project. So if you're messing up, people are watching you mess up. It's a very like surreal feeling, but it's just amazing.
yeah, but you did it. And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I didn't even think about the wind and that moving you around. Was some days better than others? I'm sure the wind probably felt good because it was hot, but
Yeah.
it
I mean, a breeze is nice, but
a breeze is nice.
I will admit that's another thing I didn't pay attention to enough, was like planning on being rained out, or if it's a windy day. Like generally the rule was if it was starting to hit 15 miles an hour in the wind, that's when they pull the lift down. So in Reno, it was hitting these winds like every other day. We'd have to stop halfway. There's a couple days where it was just raining so much we couldn't get any work done. And I was like, I'm down here having an anxiety attack because here goes the deadline, and it just won't stop raining for some reason. But you know, now I know to factor in the weather, look at the weather reports and all that. Um, yeah,
Yeah. It did you so not gonna lie, after I got off the roof last week and I had to have a couple days of just decompression and just like, okay, I don't want to do anything this weekend. I don't did you
yeah.
have that or were you just used to it?
Okay, so I, I I planned to have that, but the day I got back, I actually started another school mural
Oh,
because I have this problem where if someone's like, "Oh, here's a gig," I'm like, "I'll do it." It's like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, I don't know. I have this guilt that I feel and anxiety when I'm not doing anything. I'm talking about in therapy. I'm trying to work through it. But yesterday was actually my first day of nothing to do. Like I didn't have any designing to do. I didn't do any murals. I was just like decompressing, like you said. And it's like I still feel sore. I
Mm,
got back a couple weeks ago, but just being up there when it's moving too, it's very physically exhausting. The paint rolling that big of a surface, like my elbows hurt. I probably lost 8 pounds just being up there all day.
so you rolled it. I would think I would spray it, but I guess the wind would probably take the spray, or like a big Graco sprayer is what I was thinking of. But no.
Yeah. So I bought a brand new one and I brought it with me. And then we get up there and then I kind of, so, between every color, you got to wash it out. So we
Mm,
go up on the lift, we do one color, you got to wash it out up there or bring it down. It just became so much of a process. It was like, it was just easier to roll it, throw away the roller sleeve, put a new one on, next color. We never had like one area that was, other than the primer that they did with the sprayer, we didn't have one area that was just one solid color where I was like, this makes sense. Plus, like you said, the wind carries it into the next color, and then I'll have to touch that up. And then it's like, hypothetically, it sounds right. But in real life, it just didn't work out. So
good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. That's interesting. Okay. I guess what's some advice that you would give artists who are wanting to just get started in this mural business, but they're not sure how to get started or what to do, or like what's some advice that you would give to yourself back before you started getting these mural jobs?
Um, I don't know. I would say just like what I kind of did was just practice your art in general. Any of your skills, even if it's on paper, on a wall, on whatever, just like because I never like set out to just do murals. That wasn't like I was like I knew I wanted to be a painter, maybe like an artist of some type, but I wasn't really sure why. But I would just collect skills. Like I'd learn to airbrush and I do all these things until I kind of learn my style. And like it's almost like your environment pushes you into what you're supposed to be doing, and then what you feel like, what feels right for you.
Yeah.
And so when you get there, you're kind of have like all these skills that apply. But I feel like some people, they're like, some artists, I should say, like that I know personally or that I see, it's like they have this goal, like I want to be a mural artist or I want to be a this artist or something. And then they try for that one thing and it's not working out. And then they're just like, I'm not gonna do art at all. It's like you had all this talent, you could have done something similar or something else or whatever. Anyway, I would just say don't put any kind of pressure on yourself to be like this one thing or like assume your life's going to go in this certain direction. But it's like as long as you're happy, you're doing what you love, do that. But don't give up. Don't just if it gets hard, don't do it. Just adapt.
Yeah. Be
Yeah.
open to all the other possibilities. Yeah, can definitely echo that because I remember I went to college for painting and they taught me how to be inspired and paint what with colors, and then I started painting logos and just because that's what people were
Yeah.
asking, and I just would have never thought that logos, even still now, are one of my favorite things to paint. Just
Really.
yeah, just, I don't know what it is. It's just somebody wants a big logo job, I get excited. Like,
Oh
yeah, because
yeah.
they're so easy. I don't have to worry about like creating a mock-up and like all the things. They're like, hey, we want our logo on that wall. I'm like, great.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just comforting. I'm like, because I know how to paint a straight line. But yeah, I would have never thought, even just the opportunities that painting logos has opened up for murals or other things. It's so yeah,
Hmm.
I'm just echoing that. Just kind of go with it. What did you think you were gonna be?
Growing up, like when I went to animation stuff, like I really thought I was gonna be like a comic book artist or like I loved not just like superhero comics, but like Calvin and Hobbes and just being funny. And I loved any kind of like newspaper comics, things like that. So it's like that was just kind of what I grew up with. I doodled, I did black and white animations. It's always what I thought. Like, and then you get in this position, or you're just like you're in college for it, and you're just like, I don't know if I like this. Like I like parts of it, but I don't like all of it.
Yeah. Okay. So comic books. So what kind of comic books? Like the superhero stuff or the anime or?
Yeah, well, not so much anime, but like just comic books, X-Men, um, like I said, Calvin and Hobbes, Far Side. I just thought it was cool to like communicate in a way with like such little line work, and it's not super detailed, but you can make like an intense scene. Like there's some great, um, like you're reading a comic book as a kid and you're flipping through, and it's like whatever, and then you hit like a page where it's just like the whole page is like well done. And it's like that is always what I loved as a kid, that rush of like, wow, like that amazement that someone could make something like this. It's like makes you feel something. And I think that kind of stuck with me. That's always what I wanted to do. And it just evolved into giant murals where people walking down the street, taking video and stuff. And then there's like a feeling inside where it's like, wow, like people are resonating with this, and they're, you know, it's like a pride. And I don't know. I guess it just changed like that.
Yeah. Do you think you'll ever make your own comic book?
No.
No.
I don't think I have like the patience these days to sit down and just like draw out like a storyboard and all these things. That's you know that's not for me.
Okay.
All the things you need for a good comic book is more than just one person.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm so like, oh, what's the word? Like easily talked into things basically. And so like you're saying how you want to do comic books, and I'm literally flashing in my mind like, I want kind of, what kind of comic book I would create, and like, oh, I could create, like instead of the traditional like ABC books, I could make a comic book out of that and make it so much cooler. And I'm like, it's just like ideas are flying, but
Hmm.
yeah.
Maybe like a one-page sheet that looks like a comic book or something might be cool.
Ooh.
That's about the extent of my patience, and then I'll want to do something else.
Yeah, yeah, I always wanted to, like, work for Disney when I was younger. I just liked the Disney stuff, and then now as an adult, like, knowing how, like, what that would actually be like, I'm like, "No, that's silly.
Yeah.
No, I just wanna do my own thing."
Yeah, so when I was in school, that was when like Pixar was really getting big, and that was like that whole 3D cell shading was brand new in video games. It's like it was a big era for animating. So then I'm in the class, and I'm just like, I don't know if
Yeah,
I like this, but it was like a revolutionary thing at the time, you know,
yeah,
animating. Yeah,
yeah, very cool. Okay, so I guess just what's your last bits of advice before we get off here of just how I don't know, any advice that you have for young artists
I would say
starting
don't
out?
give up. Don't give up is number one. If you have faith in yourself, and you believe that's really what you want to do, and then you have
Do
to
it.
do it, or you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. There's no other choice, right? um, but yeah, but also, like I said, stay flexible, you know
Yeah.
be adaptable, be a flexible person.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
like, on the don't give up thing, I think sometimes, like, if you have that thought in the back of your head, like, I should create art," and it just keeps coming back, then maybe you should, maybe
yeah,
'cause you just maybe it's something that is worth trying, and I think a lot of artists get in their head. I get in my head sometimes, they're like, "Oh, I wanna create this," and I'm like, "Oh, no," and, like, you talk yourself out of it almost, and it's like, just
hmm,
like like you said, just start creating and see where it goes.
yeah. I feel like every artist does that. They talk themselves out at first. Like if you don't act soon, then you just kind
Yeah.
of like convince yourself not to do it. But
Yep.
yeah,
For sure. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. It's been awesome to get to know you a bit, and I will continue to follow you on Instagram and see what big walls that you continue to paint.
yeah, you too. Thank you for having me.
I'm gonna click end recording.